Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next, and if you're not too careful, you just might learn something. So today, we're on Ole Blue. I'm going to be doing some wet blasting on the cab. I'm hoping to get to the point where we can get into some actual metal work, putting some of these pans in. There's just so much rust on that cab, and it's taking a lot of work to get that rust out of there. This is that step of the process where it's kind of boring and tedious, and you've just really got to do it right and get all that rust out. Otherwise, you're just really wasting your time. So we're gonna focus on that. We're gonna get it right, and hopefully we'll get to see us welding some sheet metal today. I'm about to get into my Moon Man suit here. I really would love to be able to show you guys some really close-up stuff on the wet blasting. I've got some sort of close-up stuff, but with the way that wet blaster works, it chucks dirt and water farther than my zoom will allow. So you're just gonna have to settle for the camera being in the back of the workshop where it's nice and safe, and I'll zoom it in as close as I can, and you can see me wet blasting anyway, but you can get an idea of how drawn out and tedious the process can be. So
Silence, Earthling. My name is Darth Vader. I'm from the planet Vulcan. Alright, so I'm taking a break from wet blasting here, and man, there's I can't believe how many layers of paint are on the back of this cab. And of course, you see the first layers just flaking off there because how poorly it was applied, and then you got layers down beneath it. So I didn't know that this truck had been repainted, but either way, so because of all the contours on the back of the cab, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna blast the whole cab. It's just a lot easier to do that than try to sand it, especially getting down in those these contours. But if you ever want to wonder, or you ever wonder why cab corners rust out, which is up there, which is actually the bottom of the cab, and it's like you never see any water get in the truck. Well, I'll tell you how. This is around the back window. You can see the holes there, and we got holes here, rust. We got holes there. And we've got holes there, Of course, the cab's rotated now, obviously, but when water gets in there, it just goes in and goes, you know, right down and ends up in that little cab corner there, and that's why they rot out. So we're gonna fix all that, and we'll try and seal it up really good, so when water does invariably get in there, you know, it'll stand half a chance of not rusting. So it's amazing what you find when you wet blast all the crap out of the way. And you can see where I blasted all the rust off the top of the cab where that visor was. Of course, what you're seeing here is a flash rust from the wet blaster, but you can see, hopefully you can see how that rust was just eating this metal, and it's pitted. You know, we'll have to, you know, smooth that over with spot putty to smooth that out so it doesn't look like crap under paint. But yeah, it's amazing how that rust will get into places and you don't even know it until it's too late. Whew, that was a lot of work. So and we really just got one side ready to weld our sheet metal in, as far as like the floor pan and the cab mount. But the thing you have to remember when you're wet blasting or sandblasting, you know, you need to clean out all your nooks and crannies after you're done. Especially with wet blasting, you know, you got to get it to dry out. And you know, I had to help it along with the torch, but you know, to warm the metal up to boil all the water out of it. But let me show you what I'm talking about here. Now, in order to put our cab mount in, okay, we're going to be welding in through here and up here. It's a little dark, sorry. The auto exposure isn't playing very well. But the thing you have to remember is this whole area right here gets full of sand. Okay, this whole little cubby hole that you can look down into, and that all gets full of sand and water, of course, and builds up as you're blasting. So just to give you an example, that's how much sand I got out of that just that one little area right there. And you know, it was all full of water, and I noticed in one of the rust holes down there in the bottom, water kept running out of it, and it's because there was all that sand packed in there. It got blown in there, you know, just from the blasting process, and it was holding water. It was like a sponge, and I could just see myself trying to weld on that every time I turn around. I have the weld pop off because of water boiling out of the hole there. So that's why it's a long, tedious process, and you know, if you want to get all the rust off, you got to blast it. And wet blasting is really the best way to go about it, but that's the price you pay for it. So fortunately for me, since the the owner had the truck Z-barded, they got all these holes drilled everywhere with the little plugs in them where they shot their rust proofing in there, and so it gave me places to stick my air nozzle and blow all the sand out of there. And then you just heat this whole area, you know, with like a propane torch, just to warm it up and boil all the water out. And then once it gets dry, you can just either vacuum or blow the sand out with the compressed air. So, moving right along. All right. Now it's time to fit up our cab mount. And what we're we're going to notice is between all our drilling and hammering and all that good stuff that we've got this flange right here. Let me move my hand here so you can see. This flange right here is all dinged up. So we're going to need to flatten that out because that's going to weld to this. So what we'll do, use a hammer and a dolly and flatten that all out. That'll make that nice and smooth and straight. That way we're not forcing and clamping so much to pull everything into line. Get this right, huh? Notice that fits a whole heck of a lot better. What we'll do, we'll jig this up, hold it together with some clamps, and then we'll be ready to weld. But first, we got to punch some holes. So, your cab floor support is going to be too thick to use your flanger punch tool. So you're going to have to manually drill your holes on this one. So you can see how we got our holes drilled in all the places where we're going to need it. If we can do it through the thinner metal with a punch, or if we already have old spot welds that are drilled out, then we'll leave and use those. So we're not taking away any metal anywhere. And then you want to clean off your metal on both sides because you're going to be welding with the MIG, and you don't want to be burning your primer up, making contaminating your weld. So let's get this jigged up in there. So we have our cab support lined up. And I made sure I made a mental note of where it was before and used this body line as a reference. So I've got it to where I can go ahead and weld through my drilled holes right here. So we'll get started welding. Good there. when you're welding one of these things up, or any kind of body sheet metal, it always helps to have a wide variety of different kind of clamps that can reach in and help you finagle things, because as I had said previously, no replacement sheet metal is going to be a perfect match and just lay in there and weld. You're going to have to finagle something somewhere every time, guaranteed. So you just be ready for it. And you know, any clamps with a nice long reach, they're handy to have. Harbor Freight sells bunches of them real cheap, and they're great for stuff like this. And sometimes even the tiniest little clamp and little chunks of metal that you have laying around will help you press a piece of metal into position to where it needs to be to get a weld on it. So yeah, the more clamps the merrier. Okie dokie, that's one cab mount welded in place. Now you make sure you know you got it right, because this here lines up right with that, and this here lines up right with this. So when we'll drill these so we can spot weld through them, and when you lay your floor pan on there, it'll lay right across there nice and neat and lay right in here like where it's supposed to. Not bad for an afternoon's worth of work. We're getting there, slow but sure. Whew. You know, I know it don't look like we got much done. You know, we just got that one cab corner or cab mount put in there. But, you know, there's a lot of work goes into getting that in there and getting it in there right. So, you know, you don't want to have to bend the whole truck just to fit, you know, a part that you welded in wrong. So that's where we're at for today, and hopefully tomorrow we'll weld the actual floor pan section in, and then that'll wrap up that one side. Well, we got one extra little piece we got to make to go behind the floor pan that's rotted out, so that'll be interesting to watch there. And you know, so we'll see you tomorrow, you know, when we come back and do some more. But in the meantime, please subscribe if you like what you see, and click the little bell icon to get notified anytime I post a new video. And please feel free to comment. You know, if you see something I did wrong, call me out on it. I don't walk on water, so if somebody knows better than I do, you know, I'm always open to suggestions. So, and you can also email me at MacGyversWorkshop@gmail.com, and if you want to be a little discreet about it, and then I'll get back to you. So again, thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Till next time.